Well, welcome to the JD Power Travel Podcast. I'm Michael Taylor. I'm the Managing Director of Travel, Hospitality, and Retail. I'm joined by Andrea Stokes, who's our practice lead for hospitality. Hello, Andrea.
Hello.
And this week we have a special guest, John Cabell, who's with our payments group, and he's going to talk to us about travel reward cards.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, John, tell us just a little bit about the stuff you do for JD Power and where you're located and all those little particulars.
Sure. So I work with our clients in financial services in the payment space, which includes all of the work that we do with not only credit card, but also other emerging types of payment and established payments such as debit card, things like buy now, pay later, digital wallet, and so forth. So we have a particular history and over a decade have been providing insights to clients in the credit card space, have a lot of rich data across a variety of products in both the US and Canada.
And as everybody listens to this podcast knows, the credit card divisions or products that travel suppliers create and enjoy have a major impact on their operations and also on the enjoyment or lack thereof that people get from various travel providers. So, Andrea, I think you want to start off with some questions for John.
Yes, thanks, John, for joining us. So let's talk a little bit about one of the major sort of pieces of research that the payments intelligence practice does, which is the credit card satisfaction study. As part of the credit card satisfaction study, we know that you all measure satisfaction with the major airline and hotel co-branded credit cards, as well as other travel cards, and of course, other credit cards. But can you tell us a little bit about what insights the credit card study provides to, the issuers of co-branded travel cards and also the travel industry as a whole?
Sure, I'll be glad to. This study that we have established and recently redesigned has a lot of very granular data at the card product level about customer satisfaction, as well as a lot of complementary metrics in terms of things like brand power, things like level of trust, usage of the card, monthly spend, and so forth. So there is a really a wealth of data about not only the issuing banks and their performance, but also the perception of the co-brand partners and the products themselves as you look across the different types of issuers for a variety of travel cards, whether it be airline, hotel, other travel such as cruise ship and train, as well as bank branded cards that may be used for travel purposes or other purposes as well.
That's great. So of course, I'm going to ask about the travel cards. For the travel credit cards, what are cardholders most satisfied with in general? Sort of what aspects of the cards? What makes the travel card stand out? Especially those that have the highest customer satisfaction.
Sure. Yeah. No, that's a really great question. And I will tell you that there was a time a couple of years ago when the satisfaction with travel cards was at a low point. But in the last year or so, as travel has rebounded, there has been a resurgence of satisfaction with travel-related cards, and rewards are the key area of success for these cards, particularly the redemption of rewards and the perception of value at that juncture of the relationship. So when you look across the types of cards, be it airline, hotel, or other sorts of travel cards, The ones that seem to stand out most recently in terms of highest satisfaction are the hotel cards, believe it or not. And they seem to be garnering higher satisfaction with benefits as well as rewards earning. Um, Airline cards are not far behind, but both of those are significantly above the level of satisfaction in different areas versus a sort of regular bank branded credit card.
And John, is that difference large or small, would you say, statistically? How does a regular bank card compare to a travel card, travel rewards card?
Yeah, it's about a 25-point difference in satisfaction between the hotel cards, and this is on a 1,000-point scale,
Okay.
and the bank cards, which is pretty large for this sort of thing. Airline is much closer to the level of satisfaction overall with bank cards, but it's notable that bank cards tend to lag in reward satisfaction versus airline cards and every other kind of travel card. So really, the card holder is coming to the travel product for rewards, and they generally are seem to be quite satisfied with that.
All right. Thanks. Andrea, you had another question?
I do. So, uh, thinking about the co-branded travel cards, do you see them becoming, I mean, they're popular now, of course, but do you see them becoming even more popular in the future? And how do you see the relationships changing that banks have with the travel companies for these co-branded cards?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. One of the things that we've seen over time has been sort of different approaches toward branding and co-branding with these types of products. And in many cases, the travel partner is the lead consumer-facing brand on the front of the card. In some cases, they're co-branded, but issuers and the co-brand partners work together on what seems to be the right mix, depending on the type of product and the card holder that they're interested in engaging. So, sort of thinking about the future of these, I think as travel continues to grow, uh, these products become more relevant, certainly, and we've seen them rebound, and we've seen a resurgence in interest and opening for these products as well. So I think the future is bright for them.
So kind of in the same vein, I guess that what it seems like is the co-branded model, the benefit for the travel companies of the co-branded model is meant to, of course, engender more loyalty from travelers and from those customers. Do you think the travel cards have generally been successful in doing this? So, I guess not only loyalty to the travel brand, but also potentially to the banks and the card issuers in terms of loyalty for the banks in terms of perhaps these customers opening up other products with the bank.
Yes, so there is definitely a relationship here with customer retention and these products. It's a little bit different than what you see with a sort of standard bank branded credit card, cashback credit card. These cards, they tend to have longer tenured consumers. So significantly more cardholders say they've had the travel card 5 years or more. So customers tend to hang on to them. And they also say that they're less likely to switch, um, but but in the next year. But those who do plan to switch cards and have a travel card as their primary credit card tend to replace it with a different card as primary rather than just getting another card. So it's almost as if a lot of consumers, if they're sort of looking for a different product, will shift gears completely toward either a different travel product or a different bank product, and just be done with the card that they've been using. Almost like they sort of had a purpose in winning the rewards and using those rewards, and then we're ready to move on. So there is a sort of interesting dynamic there with these consumers, but generally they tend to have more loyalty and more fierce retention of the products for those travel card holders.
That's really interesting about the retention aspect. That's something I hadn't really thought about. We in our hotel guest satisfaction study, we are collecting now whether the guest, of course, is a member of the loyalty program, but also if they have the credit card, right, for that loyalty program. And our study shows the same thing, that those with the credit card are even more loyal to the brand, to the travel brand, than just, sort of your average program member. So we are seeing this loyalty also kind of bleed into the actual guest experience. So when you do have membership in the program, but you also have the credit card, we often see that the actual hotel stay experience uh, is rated higher, right, than perhaps those who are not members of the loyalty programs and don't have that kind of affiliation with the travel brand. So yeah, so this loyalty aspect is, I think, very important.
Yeah, we see the travel card holders spend more per month on their card. They report spending more money, um, and and certainly during the last 2 to 3 years, we're much more likely to hold on to those credit cards in anticipation that those points or rewards that they built up would again be useful someday. And when those points and rewards are redeemed, we see higher satisfaction, which is what we've witnessed in the last year with those products.
Yeah, that's not surprising. I think the travel companies, hotel companies especially, but perhaps some of the airlines as well, they did seem to be a little more generous during the pandemic, when none of the customers were really able to redeem for flights and hotel stays, especially when the pandemic first hit us in 2020. I think they were not only generous with redemption, but also with earning points. I do recall the card that we have, they increased the points that we could earn by shopping at grocery stores. And of course, during the pandemic, that's pretty much the only place we were shopping, right? So I do agree that I think just in the past few years, the travel companies have gone out of their way to kind of really up the benefits game with these credit cards. So, and kind of you talked a little bit about spending. We know the tangible benefits, right, that banks are getting out of these relationships with the travel companies, and of course it's earning the interest charges on that spending, or earning the annual credit card fee for these cards. But can you talk a little bit about some of the maybe intangible benefits for the banks specifically, to have these partnerships? Is it, we know the tangible benefits, it's sort of about profits, but what are the card issuers getting out of this generally, this kind of relationship?
Well, one of the key things that they're getting that's an intangible out of this relationship is a sort of brand synergy. So, when an issuer picks a co-brand, it says a lot about the quality and the perception of that issuer. And so what you see is that a lot of the sort of well-regarded brands from a travel perspective or a retail co-brand perspective tend to partner with high-quality issuers and ones that typically do well from a customer satisfaction standpoint. And those brands together kind of reinforce each other and sort of create resonance in the market. There are clearly other brands and many other types of issuers in the mix as well, at varying levels of that sort of brand halo. But it's clearly for most issuers, it's an add to the brand portfolio for them, because there's a sort of effect that the cardholder has around not just the issuing bank, who many times is sort of relegated to fine print on the back of the card, but also sort of feels the affinity with the co-brand partner as well.
Yeah, thank you. That's really, really interesting. Mike, do you have any questions for John?
Well, what are the best cards that offer travel rewards? Do you guys have a ranking of those that you can share with us?
So we will have a ranking that will be published in August when we do our first annual publish of our product award segments. And the primary travel segment that we will have awards in would be the airline co-brand segment. Those cards tend to be largest in terms of market share and presence in the U.S., and so they are sort of qualified to create their own product segment, if you will. There certainly will be other types of travel cards, many of them bank branded, for example, that will be ranked and listed as well along the other types of categories that we'll have in August.
So we're going to have to wait for 5 months to find out the answer to that question, eh?
Yeah, the data are not, we don't have all the data in yet.
Oh, okay. No, I know how that goes. I often get asked who's going to win months ahead of time. I said, someone in science has got to tell me. So, in any event, what would you say if you were going to create a perfect travel partner card? What would be the items or attributes that card would have?
I think the primary element is that's most important is having a sort of brand that has some level of interest and affinity in among consumers, that also provides for a really sort of useful, relevant set of benefits with the product that make travel easier. So just the little things like, priority boarding and maybe a free checked bag, those are very valuable, some of the most valuable benefits from a satisfaction perspective that a travel card can have. And then, of course, finally, the rewards need to be perceived to be valuable, both at the sort of level of earning rewards as you're making purchases, but also later at redemption. I mean, we've probably all experienced the card where we have hundreds of thousands of points, and then you go to redeem them, and all you get is a vacuum cleaner. So it's helpful to sort of make sure that the value there is at both the earning and redemption stages.
Well, thanks, John Cabell, for informing us all about travel cards, and looking forward to the rankings that come out in August. And once again, we'd like to thank you for listening to the JD Power Travel Podcast. I'm Michael Taylor, and we will see you next time.